No, I'm not. No.
How do you know anything apart from God?
How do I know any? I'm sorry.
How do you know anything for certain apart from God?
That's a good question. You should look into.
No, I'm asking you. Not...
Descartes. Descartes is a great philosopher.
Okay, yeah, but
Study that.
okay. So, are you basing your epistemology on Descartes' philosophy?
No.
Okay, so how do
Descartes.
you?
It's Descartes.
Right, Descartes. How do you know anything for certain in your worldview?
How do I know anything for certain?
Yeah.
Define anything. Define that I'm
here. Anything.
Or
yeah.
that you're here.
Sure, anything. How do you come to an epistemological conclusion about anything? Could you be wrong about everything?
For sure.
So when you're about to speak, since you admitted to us now that you could be wrong about everything, are you about to make a meaningful statement or a meaningless statement? How do you know?
Well, I would say that everything that you're saying right now is meaningless.
Is that statement meaningful, what you just said?
I believe so.
So truth is subjective to you?
No. I'm trying to figure it out. If I'm
on the microphone right now.
If I'm wrong, then I try to get close towards the truth.
You know, the Bible says you're a philosophy student, right?
No, I'm actually a botany student. I study plants.
But you say you study philosophy?
Yeah, I study a lot.
Well, in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, the Apostle Paul actually addresses philosophy. And listen to what he says here in the Bible, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. He says this, he says, the world, through its wisdom, never came to know God. In other words, all philosophy that is man-centered, doesn't matter if it's Platonic, doesn't matter if it's Kantian, doesn't matter if it's Descartes, all human philosophy that is rooted in human reason will never arrive at the knowledge of God. Why? Because God has made the wisdom of this world foolish through the cross of Jesus Christ.
Okay, so let's
in other words, you can't know truth, my friend, apart from Christ.
Hey,
and
man,
you just proved it to me.
You talk, you know, this is again, you know, you're kind of...
No, we're not on a timer here, man. It's okay. No. Listen, all I'm saying is that you can't know truth apart from Jesus Christ.
Okay.
And you just proved it to me.
Your idea of man's rationality is unable to know anything about the world. What about evolution?
No, I'm saying that man...
You would say that evolution is not true, you know, man is not descendant of apes, you know, we did not come from fish, all of those things, right?
Yeah, look where that worldview got us.
Yeah.
Killing babies on tables.
Evolution doesn't, as an idea, the theory of evolution of natural selection, that has nothing to do with abortion or any of these other very partisan ideas that you're trying to...
A purely materialistic, humanistic worldview leads to the conclusion that anthropology is what we make in our own eyes. If the Humanist Manifesto says that man is the measure of all things, we need nothing outside of ourselves. When man determines what man is, you get this. You get dead babies on tables, and it means nothing to people. Apparently not to Governor Cuomo. He doesn't care. He signed it with great glee, with thunderous applause.
Are you talking about in New York? Yeah. I've read a lot about...
I oppose abortion because I'm a Christian. You don't have a basis of morality.
What you were saying was allowing babies to be killed of abortion. That law, if I'm not mistaken, has to do with parents or mothers that if they carry to full term, that they and the baby will die.
No, sir.
Is that not correct?
Matter of fact, there's an undercover video right now on the internet. I'm sure you can find it.
There was an undercover video about Planned Parenthood selling baby parts.
Yeah, and they were.
That was bullshit.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
Yeah,
but not only that, there's a lady who actually scheduled an up to birth abortion for one reason. She was depressed. This is what they gave her clearance to have an up to the birth abortion because she's depressed. And you see, I have to kill the baby. This is where we're at. So, 1 second before she says anything, this gentleman here came to the microphone, is definitely not a Christian, that's what he said. I don't know what his identity and his worldview was, whether agnostic or whatnot, but he proved what I have been doing here for the last over 10 years on this campus, that without the biblical Christian worldview, you can know nothing for certain. And if you can know nothing for certain, then whatever you're about to say on the microphone is absolutely meaningless. So, ma'am, do you know anything for certain?
I know for certain that I'm not a girl. I'm trans.
How do you know that?
Because I identify as being male. I identify as using he, him pronouns.
But that's based on your observation and your
based on my knowledge of my own body.
And your knowledge is based on human reason, correct?
Well, because we're all human.
Well,
I don't believe that.
That's already a
predicate.
Hold on a second. Yeah, but that's already a truth claim that you're making. How do you know that your knowing is valid? In other words, how do you know you're not in a Buddhist Maya? You're just in an illusion. How do you know that?
How do we know that we're not in some alternate universe? How do we know that we are not in some kind of simulation?
Know? That's right.
I mean, that's kind of
so in other words, how do you know you're not in a padded room somewhere with a needle in your back? You're just imagining your whole transgender stuff. How do you know that?
Of the choices that we make in this reality are real.
You speak on her behalf?
Things that we can't. Yes. I mean,
did you hire him to do that?
Did you hire him?
I've never met him.
Yeah, I don't know who you are. I just go to school here.
Well, we were having a conversation before you ripped the microphone away from her.
That's very nice, and then we were having a conversation as well. And
oh, okay. As long as she doesn't mind you taking the microphone away from her, you're very tolerant.
Yeah, no, I mean tolerance is
since about 2 minutes ago, since the last time
that you don't understand.
Sir, real quick, since the last time you were on the microphone 2 minutes ago, have you now come to an epistemology that knows things?
I think your knowledge, your idea of knowledge and whether or not we can know things is very misguided.
Is that truth or not true?
Okay,
that statement.
I'm a scientist.
Is it true that you're a scientist or not? You know it for certain.
I believe so.
Now, I didn't ask you if you believe it. People believe they can fly. But do you know for certain that you're a scientist?
What's your point?
How?
You believe in God, right?
Because I study plants in a scientific way.
So you study plants, and that's how you come to a conclusion about truth?
Yeah.
You can't hear now?
Just like her. Just
you
like
believe in God, right?
You have a microphone, it works.
Oh, you can hear me though, right? You believe in
I don't
God,
talk
right?
to people off
God,
microphone.
Right?
If you want to talk, I'd love to talk to you on the microphone.
Cool.
So basically, you have another attempt. You have another attempt to say, I know things, but I don't know why I know them. Oh, but I know them because of subjective reasons.
Why do you believe in God?
But you believe in God.
Yes, well, I'm a Christian, but he's not.
How do you know that?
Yeah, how do you know that?
I have revelation from God.
How did you know? How do you know that?
Without.
From the devil. How did you know?
Hold on 1 second. I'll turn it back on. Let me just make this statement. The way that a Christian knows things for certain, unlike this gentleman here, is that without biblical Christianity, you can't know anything at all. In other words, Christianity is the necessary precondition for intelligibility. Without God and the Bible, you cannot know anything at all. And that gentleman right here just proved it to me time and time again by telling me that the reason he knows, well, I feel, or I think, or you know, I'm a scientist. I think, I kind of know, I don't know. So 1 second ago, he doesn't know anything, and now he knows everything. See, this is what happens to you when you deny God. You end up with futility and a darkened mind. It's basically like trying to jump out of a bottomless pit. You don't have a ground or a foundation for knowledge. And let's see if he has one now. It's been about a minute. His worldview is changing every second.
Can I talk now? Okay. After you
I don't know, are your statements meaningful or meaningless, sir? According to your worldview, not mine.
Man, this guy won't let me talk at all. No, seriously, can I talk? Like, can I turn off your microphone and have me say something? You can turn off my microphone and you can say something? Okay, so you don't want to be fair in a discussion. So that's pretty clear, for one thing. You control who
I
says
provide a microphone for
don't you say that you support free speech? Aren't you here because of free speech?
Yep.
So you're going to deny my free speech?
No, not at all. You can tell us how you know nothing again.
Okay, well, let's I mean, I'll start talking, you can stop talking, and I'll let you talk, and I won't interrupt, and we can have a conversation like that. Isn't that great?
Tell us how you know nothing again.
Let's take a look at the word scientist as a definition, okay? This has to do with the idea of a priori. This is what is true by definition of the word.
So you believe in absolute truth?
No, can I please talk? Please. This will take a minute. And, you know, I mean, I think all of the people here, we're all patient, we're all willing to hang out, we're here to listen. Okay, a priori knowledge. Let's take the idea of a scientist. What does that word mean? What does the word bachelor mean?
Nothing,
okay?
according to you.
Can I talk? Like, seriously. Like, I just want to be able to talk without the sassy.
You're going in circles because you're making knowledge claims when you don't have a basis for knowledge.
Yeah, he's not going to let me
You have a problem with that?
Like,
you know what he's doing?
This is an idea that takes a little bit
He's saying, I know for certain that I don't know anything for certain.
Hey,